All right, today we're out here on the water and we're gonna show you what it means when somebody says they're gonna go tight lining. Now, before you're like, man, this is just another technique that I don't understand and don't know how to use. But if you like to fish in the wintertime when the water's cold, this is something you really wanna pay attention to. Tight lining is a big deal in East Tennessee and in a number of other lakes in that part of the country, that whole region. Water gets cold. We're talking below 50 degrees, especially when it's in that low 40s, mid 40s. That tight lining can be really good. And what we're talking about is taking a little teeny bait that has very little action and throwing it out, and you're basically letting that bait pendulum back to the boat. That's kind of the premise of tight lining. Now, it evolved from using little craft hair jigs. A number of years ago, the guys in East Tennessee figured out this technique works really well with these craft hair jigs. That really became the deal for a number of years. Really the tight lining technique as a whole kind of spawned off of the guys doing what they call float and fly. When they put a little teeny trout fly, if you will, on like a 16th ounce, 32nd ounce, whatever, on a bobber, and they're getting on bluff banks, catching big smallmouth when the water's cold. That's kind of where this idea spawned from. They're trying to catch some of those same fish, but just covering water quicker in a more efficient fashion. And I'm telling you, it works a lot of places, much more than just in East Tennessee. It works North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Alabama. I mean, basically that whole region out in the Ozarks. I promise you it works out there as well. So what we're gonna do is show you how to do it. I'm telling you about the history of the technique, but that craft hair jig that the guys started out using, then somebody in East Tennessee started putting a little 1/8 ounce jig head with a gulp minnow on it, a little 3-inch gulp minnow, about the same size as this Ned Bomb right here. And that really became the deal. A lot of guys still catch a lot of fish on that gulp minnow. But what I've seen is that those guys that like to Ned rig, you don't have to go out and get something completely different. Use your Ned rig equipment. All of your same Ned rig equipment, use that for the tight lining technique. Only one difference, and it seems like a loop knot, which is what you can see right there. A little loop knot on there will give that bait just a little bit more action, just give it a little bit more as it's pendulum them back, and we're gonna show you that right now. So number one, where do we do this? Right here, we've got a steeper bank. We've got a river channel bend, comes up against this bank. Bluff banks, anywhere that those fish are going to be in the wintertime. You can do it on bridge pilings. You can do it on 45-degree banks. You know, a lot of times those fish get on those 45-degree banks in the wintertime. This is kind of one of those banks right here. I can tell you right now, the river channel touches right up against this little point right here, and it comes off and then just goes right down into the river channel, super deep. A lot of fish hang on those more vertical structure, 45-degree to vertical structures in the wintertime. That's exactly where we're going to be tight lining. We're going to get parallel with the cover. We're going to get parallel with that, and then we're just going to take this little, you know, whatever you like to Ned rig. You can use that gulp minnow if you want. It absolutely works. 1/8 ounce head really seems to be the key head. A 3/32 or an 1/8 ounce seems to be the deal. If you get too heavy, it sinks too fast. It doesn't have the proper action. But all we're gonna do here, I'll walk you through a cast, is that you're just gonna throw it out, kind of parallel in the bank here, throw it out, and then once it hits, you're just gonna start reeling up the slack. And what that bait is doing, I mean, we're in 16 feet of water right here. I'm gonna probably get the boat out a little bit deeper, but I'm just reeling the bait in so that the bait's just kind of pendulum them back, and then I might give it a little twitch like that, and then just gonna reel it. Little action, very little action. You don't want to get too crazy. If you're going to twitch your rod, no more than that right there. That's all you need to do. And then just reel up your slack, let it just kind of keep pendulum them down. You really don't want to let it hit the bottom. You're not dragging this on the bottom. If I wanted to do that, I'd just throw a jig and and be done with it. But that's not what this is about. This is about giving the fish the look of a dying minnow that's just kind of venturing through their ballpark. All right, so the tight lining, it can be absolutely dangerous. It's hard to win tournaments on a tight line, just like it's kind of hard to win tournaments on a Ned rig. It seems like you kind of catch the same class of fish. You're going to catch a lot of fish. You're going to catch good fish. Absolutely going to catch good fish, but you don't always catch real big ones. Now, somebody's going to go out there and comment, I hope you do, that this absolutely can catch big fish, because it can, but in general, don't go out there and expect to win every tournament that you catch, because we're talking, it's smaller bait. It looks like easy prey, a little bass, 2 pounds, 3 pounds even. That's their prime target. So just to walk you through one more cast, throw it out there, you'll let it hit, flip your bail over, and then you're just gonna keep your line tight, hence the name tight lining. Let it sink a little bit, and then you're just gonna kind of reel up the slack as the bait's falling. So it's just gonna fall and pendulum towards you, and so you're fishing it, 10, 15, 20 feet in the water column. Just let it fall, and if it gets if it gets on the bottom and you feel it hit the bottom, reel it on up, and then just kind of reel it along. Maybe give it a little shake or two, but you don't want to overwork it. That's a big key. Don't overwork it. Just kind of reel it along, keep it up off the bottom, kind of shake it along, and just you'll get in that feel of that bait pendulum back to you. And then once you start catching a couple fish, and you'll say, I got it. I know exactly what I'm supposed to feel. I know how I'm supposed to do this. You'll thank me later, I promise you. Once you start catching some fish on it, it will really become a player for you in the wintertime. Again, just throwing it out there, letting it sink down a little bit, and then just kind of reeling up to make sure no slack gets in your line, keeping that line tight, hence the name. Maybe a little twitch here and there. And again, it's a spinning rod technique. You're going to use light line. I use either a 6, 7, or 8 pound leader. The lighter, the better in the wintertime for whatever reason. A lot of those guys in East Tennessee, they're using 4 pound monofilament on this technique. They think it is a big key to use that really small line. I think that there are times where the bigger line, with the loop knot, the bigger line doesn't really affect the action too much. But 6 pounds probably a good place to start with, I would say, on this tight lining. 6 pound leader, it's about a 20-25 foot leader. And then you can go to that braid. That longer leader helps you, absorb, helps get that bait down. And then your braid helps you get really good hookups when you get that bite. I like spinning rods. I use a micro jig rod from Cashin. That's kind of the perfect length. It's 7-1 with a medium, I'd call it medium plus, not quite medium heavy. It's kind of a medium plus action. And then, just a normal high quality spinning reel. I got a Daiwa Tatula here. You don't need to go crazy. I know some of those guys in East Tennessee, because they're using 4 pound test, they are putting on the absolute top of the line spinning reel. They want the smoothest drag possible. Some of the old school guys, they're still gonna back reel because they say nothing's more smooth than a back reel. Well, that's until some of these really high dollar, Daiwa exists, and your real high end spinning reels. That's what some of those guys are using, because they want that really smooth drag for using this technique. But again, once that water starts to get cold, start thinking about tight lining. It might be your new favorite technique to use in the wintertime. Missile baits, Ned Bomb is what I've been using. 1/8 ounce Ned Ball head works perfect for this technique. Whatever you're comfortable with on your Ned rig that's approximately 1/8 ounce, maybe a touch lighter. Whatever's in that range, that's what you want to use for this technique. You'll catch a lot of fish, and you go out there and have a lot of fun.